What's up, guys? It's Double Rim here, back with another NBA reaction. So I haven't made a video in the last few days. I've been watching NBA though, so that was more just like I said, I do this for fun. I don't do this because I have to. I do it when I want to, and I just didn't feel like it the last few days. Yesterday I couldn't, but the few days before that I could have, but I just didn't. Maybe I'll start grinding out eventually, but right now it's just a super casual thing, and I just kind of do it when I want to. Anyways, though, I have a lot of thoughts from the last few days of games, and the last few days of games have just reinforced my thoughts. Right, like I thought this a few days ago, and then after watching games for a few more days, I have the same thought, which is really important because early in the season things tend to fluctuate a lot. But when you have thoughts that don't fluctuate, that is very it's not important because it's still so early, but it's like a inkling of like, this could be something that's a problem. This could be a storyline this season. So I have a few things. I'm just gonna react to the games that happened on TNT tonight, and I'm gonna talk about some games that happened yesterday that I watched too. But they're gonna be super quick reactions because I want to get some overarching thoughts. So some super fast recaps here. So we're gonna go. We're gonna start with yesterday. Grizz Nets game, super fun game, super high scoring, not a lot of defense. And Brooklyn has a great offense. They can score anytime, but they cannot play defense consistently. And in the NBA, if you can, it doesn't matter if you can score if you can't defend, right? If you can score, you know, 30 points per 75. No, that's the wrong way to view this. But if you are if you're a good offensive team, but you're a bad defensive team, like it doesn't matter. Like I'm a Blazers fan. I know this, right? The last few years, that's exactly what we've been. We've been a top 5 offense with a bottom 5 defense. So it's just like, sure, we can score 110 to 20 points a night, but everyone can score 115 to 125 on us, so it doesn't even fucking matter. So that's kind of how this Brooklyn Grizzlies game went. Obviously, it's like Brooklyn's going to get up points no matter what, but Brooklyn's defense is so bad, the Grizzlies were able to score at will. Also, Desmond Bane went crazy. Ben Simmons had another dud. I saw some hilarious stat where he's got like 13 fouls and like 16 freaking points or something. So he's like got about the same amount of fouls as points this point of the season. So that's kind of funny. Kyrie, KD were lighting it up, but like I said, they just couldn't play defense. Ja Morant was doing good. Desmond Bane had like the best game of his career. He had like 40 on like 8 of 10 shooting, so he played amazing. But yeah, it was just Brooklyn's defense wasn't good enough to stop the Grizzlies' offense, and that's pretty in simple terms. I got to keep these quick though. Okay, then I watched the Blazers Nuggets game, and how beautiful was that game? Because I'm a Blazers fan, so I'm obviously super biased. And it's so interesting because when they made all their offseason moves, I was like, in my head, I was like, oh yeah, this is a playoff team. This is a top 4 seed, in my opinion. Because in the past, Dame has carried much, much worse rosters to higher seeds, right? In like 2017 or 18, we were like the 3rd seed, and we had nobody. We had CJ McCollum, and like Mo Harkless was like our 3rd best player. It's just like this team is more talented than like most of the teams in Dame's career since like 2015, right? When they had LaMarcus Aldridge still. So in my head, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely a top 4 seed. But then, I start to hear the media's opinions. Then I start to, I watch the preseason, and the Blazers were horrible in the preseason. So incredibly bad, right? And that was enough for me, man. I went against my better judgment. Never take the preseason seriously. Never take the preseason seriously. I took it too seriously. I took what the media was saying too seriously, and I went against my own instincts. So I'm stupid for that, but the Blazers are a solid team. I'm not going to say we're like the best team in the league, but we're a solid team. We're not bad. We're good. We play good defense, which is insane. We've had one of the best defenses in the league these past 4 games, and it's insane to watch because that's not how we played. So anyways, back to this Denver game. The short story of this Denver game was that we played good defense. They only scored 110 points, right? That's good in the modern NBA. And realistically, it was less because garbage time started like halfway through the fourth. So we really we played pretty solid defense, and they had less they maybe only had 100 or 95 points when garbage time started. So we locked up, and then Anthony Simons. It was a pretty close game. It was it was kind of one of those games where it's just oh, the teams are around. One team is kind of 10 to 5 points down, and that's the Blazers were for the first few quarters. We were just 5 to 10 points. The Nuggets had a 5 to 10 point lead. But then Anthony Simons in the third quarter went off, man. He struggled shooting the first 3 games, and he was looking like Clay, man. Looking like Steph. Looking like Lillard. He was just shooting that thing, and it was going in no matter what. It was a beautiful thing to see. And Anthony Simons, hot take, this might be biased, but I don't think it is biased because I'm a Blazers fan first, obviously, but I'm a Warriors fan. I'm a Warriors fan. I'd classify myself as Warriors fan, even though they always fucking beat the Blazers. It sucks, but I'm a fan of Curry. I love how they play, and I love their defense, but I'm a Warriors fan first. And I think Anthony Simons is better than Jordan Poole. Mark my words, Simons is better than Poole, and he's also getting paid $10 less than Jordan Poole. That contract, in my opinion, was a horrible, horrible contract from the Warriors. Just not the kind of contract the Warriors give out. Jordan Poole's a great player. I love Jordan Poole. He deserves 25 million, 23 to 25 million per year for sure. Not 33. Okay, that's not at all what he deserves. He's not good enough on defense to deserve that. And scoring guards who can't play defense are super abundant in this league, right? They're super abundant. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. The Nuggets Blazers game. Simons goes off in the third quarter. That puts the game out of reach. Jamal Murray struggled. Jokic only had 4 shot attempts and had a 9-9-9 game. Super weird game from Jokic. He just needs to be a lot more aggressive. But that's my thoughts on that game. And I know I went on a little tangent there. That's my bad. But this is just how I talk. This is how I like to talk about basketball. Anyways, third game. The game that was on earlier, the Mavericks Pelicans game. I didn't really watch it too closely. I wasn't too invested in it, but I watched it. I'll say I watched it. And it was just as simple as, the Pelicans were just hitting shots, man. And the Mavs defense was looking bad. I know I've been saying it a lot, but the Mavs defense, Brooklyn's defense, looking horrible, just looking so bad. Couldn't get a stop. And Luka, once again, this is a trend from Luka, and this is a take I have about Luka that I haven't heard anyone else say, but it feels true to me at this point. Okay, 1, Luka plays too high usage. High usage does not win championships. Look at Westbrook, Harden, those guys had the highest usage ever, and they, I guess James Harden teams could have won maybe, but anyways, I just don't think high usage is the way to win. It's put too much of a burden on one player, and I think they really just need a second guy, I don't know, it doesn't even necessarily be a creator. It just needs to be a second star for Luka because he's that good. He is so good. And a trend with Luka is he comes out in the first quarter, he'll score 10 to 20. Second quarter, he'll score 10 to 20. Third quarter, he'll score 10 to 20. And then the fourth quarter, he'll score 0 to 5 because he's tired. He doesn't have super good conditioning, but also because he's relied on so much that by the fourth quarter, he's tired. He's already had to create every point for the Mavs that he's been in, whether it be scoring or passing. So I just think it's unsustainable, or I think Luka needs to, pick his spots a little more, especially if his conditioning isn't up to the task to be. Whose conditioning is to be the offensive creator for every single second you're in? No one's is. So I just think they need to get Luka another creator, to get him off ball a little more, especially during the regular season. In the playoffs, maybe put him on ball all the time. In the regular season, you should at least get him some rest and get him another teammate and get them confidence because that'll help out in the playoffs. But anyways, also another take I have about Luka. His career thus far has looked not identical, but very similar to one LeBron James. Now, I'm not saying Luka's as good as LeBron, okay? But if we look at their first 7 years or 5 years of the league, well, Luka was drafted in when? 17 or 8? He was drafted in 18. So this is Luka's fifth season, right? 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21, 21, 22, yeah, and 22, 23. This is his 5th season. If you compare their first 5 seasons, it's a very similar outcome, right? Obviously individual greatness, making the playoffs, Luka just made a super deep playoff run unexpectedly to the Western Conference Finals. LeBron in year 4, I think, he made his run to the championship. A very surprising run, right? And yes, you may say, oh, finals better than Western Conference Finals. Dude, go look at 2007. Like, the league was dog shit, okay? There was, especially the East, bro, there was no teams in the East. So, yes, it's impressive that LeBron did that. I'm not saying it's not impressive. I give LeBron credit, but I'm just saying that it's pretty similarly comparable to what Luka did, beating the number 1 seed Suns in the playoffs, right? And like the Jazz, who are a perennial like number 1 seed. So like both of those things are pretty impressive. Obviously, losing to the Warriors is tough, but they're the best team. And just like how LeBron, he made it and then faced a great team, the Spurs, got swept. So very similar so far in their trajectory. Lone stars. Also, their front offices have been unable to find them a second star and build. And the reason this is because they've traded their long-term assets for short-term solutions, right? What did the Cavaliers famously do? They traded for players like Larry Hughes, Mo Williams, Ilgauskas, and such. They trade away their future for decent players in the now, which is just a horrible idea because they felt pressure to put a good team around their star because he's so good. But you still got to play the long game. Like, think about it. Michael Jordan didn't win until he developed Scottie Pippen. Like, Steph didn't win until you got Draymond, Clay, Like, you have to build a team around a guy. You can't just trade your future for, like, decent role players. And that's kind of what the Mavericks have done, right? They traded, like, 2 first-round picks for Porzingis. They traded a pick just this year for Christian Wood. They traded, they've just had that similar tier of second caliber guys, or maybe even third, right? They're just like all right guys who can kind of score but aren't super impactful on the game. And that's very similar to what the Cavs front office was doing for LeBron, right? Both of their situations have mirrored each other, and I'm interested to see what happens because Luka deserves more, man. He deserves a second star, and like as a Blazer fan, you can kind of say, oh, maybe Damian Lillard, but they built a great team. LaMarcus Aldridge, they drafted. Brandon Roy, they drafted. Greg Oden, they drafted. Injury luck happens. Greg and Brandon got injured. Then they drafted Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, LaMarcus, that was a great pairing. LaMarcus left in free agency. You can't really control that, okay? But the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Dallas Mavericks failed to at this point in their careers, like at the same time periods, have failed to put stars around Luka/LeBron. So it's an interesting situation. Just the thought I had, they're looking kind of similar. Their teams are looking kind of similar. Just like, dude, these are just a bunch of weird veterans. Like, there's no young guys Luka's developing with. Like, most great teams have a core group of guys that are like in a similar age range and they develop together. And I think that's super important. Like, even looking at the Celtics, right? So if I was the Mavs, I mean, stars ask out all the time in this league, but it's hard to get young stars. And I think it's important to build chemistry when you're young, to build a rapport together and, get established. So I'm really skeptical on Luka and the Mavs. Like, obviously, they could win a championship maybe, but like at this point, they've failed to surround him with adequate talent. They've failed to draft well and develop well, instead opting to trade for good players. And yes, there's a time and a place for these. Like an old team, you trade your picks for veterans, right? Because you guys are all similar age, you guys are all similar goals, and you guys, you're not going to be waiting around 4 or 5 years to develop. But Luka's so young still. And the first 4 or 5 seasons have been kind of wasted on trading for win-now moves when they should have just been trying to draft well, trying to get good players in the draft and developing those guys around Luka. So now you got Luka, and then you got like a 15th pick, right? Or like a 17th pick who's now a 3-year vet and he's developed well. Kind of like Brunson, but like a more of like a wing or like bigger player. I guess Brunson was kind of like that, but they let him walk. So he's not like that. But anyways, that's my take about Luka. The Mavs have failed him so far, and just like the Cavs did LeBron. And their situations are kind of mirroring each other. It's just weird. But anyways, now the next game to talk about, this Warriors Suns game. And it just ended. I started recording this before it ended. And oh man, was this a this has not been a good trend so far for the Warriors. The first the last 3 games they played Sacramento, they've played Denver, and they've now played the Suns, right? They have given up 70 points in the first half to each of those 3 teams. And this is a thought I had earlier too. So the 2 teams I've watched the most the past 3 years is the Warriors and Blazers. I've probably watched 90% of both of their games, right? Well, this season has been completely flip-flopped in my whole worldview of these 2 teams. Usually the Warriors are the ones who are good at defense, and they're still good on offense too, but they're usually better on defense than they are offense these last few years. But this year, they're horrible on defense and putting up points like they haven't in a while. And the Blazers, on the other hand, usually, like I said earlier, really good at offense, horrible at defense. But this year, they're better at defense than they are at offense. So it's just weird seeing these 2 things flip in my head of the 2 teams I follow. So that's just kind of an interesting thing I've noticed. But man, this Warriors team defense is horrible, man. It's just so strange because they have a very similar team to last year, but it's just a lot worse. I mean, everyone just doesn't it's probably mostly the bench unit. It's really just mostly the bench unit can't play cohesive defense is really what it's got to be. Man, if I was the Warriors, I wouldn't panic yet, but if this continues for another 10 to 15 games, that's when it's time to panic, man, because giving up points like they're giving up is tough. And this is why it's even weirder for me, right? The Warriors and Blazers have played the exact same 4 teams. The exact same 4 teams, right? Both of them played Sacramento. Both of them played the Lakers. Both of them played the Suns. And both of them played the Nuggets, right? And watching the Warriors play these teams versus the Blazers has been so strange because usually it's like flip-flopped, like I was saying. Like the Warriors have been giving up points, giving up easy baskets, missing assignments, giving up open threes, giving up open lanes, where the Blazers have been grinding, hustling, getting steals, turning the other teams over, getting blocks, getting rebounds. Like they're just playing with so much effort and defensive awareness, whereas the Warriors are not. And, the Blazers have held all those teams to under 110 points or less. Like I was saying, like the Lakers only scored like 103. The Sac, I think, maybe scored like 107, and Phoenix scored like 107 in overtime, though, or something. So, from what I remember. So it's like, it's just very strange to watch the Warriors struggle so much on D because that's actually been their calling card for the last 8 years. And, man, and that's pretty much the story of this Phoenix game. Like, it was like a 72-68 first half, and it's just like, you cannot win games by giving up 70 points in a half. You just can't. I don't care how good on offense you are, you can't do it. You have to hold teams to 60 or below if you want to win. And yeah, you could say, okay, well, the Suns gave up 68 points. But exactly, they're still ahead though. And it's like, okay, we're both probably going to cool down, but I have the lead, and I've been playing more consistent defense, whereas you guys have been giving up easy shots. And that's the main thing. The Warriors have just been giving up easy shots. So those 4 games have been pretty interesting. I think I got most of my thoughts out about how Jordan Poole contract, when they signed it, I thought it was a bad idea, and these first 4 games have reinforced that. Now, I'm not saying Jordan Poole's bad. I love Jordan Poole. He's one of my favorite players to watch. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA. But his contract is an overpay. He should not be getting $30 million for a guy who's unimpactful on defense. And yeah, I know offense is more important, but there's so many small guards who can score. The Warriors already have the best one ever. And he is actually all right at defense these days. And it's like, yeah, okay, Lillard's also an awesome player, but he's on a different level offensively. Like Lillard, Curry, Trae Young, like these guys are on a whole different stratosphere. And Luka even are on a different stratosphere than Jordan Poole. And Jordan Poole, got the Tyler Hero contract, which was also a mistake. And the Miami Heat are known for giving out bad contracts. Look at the Hassan Whiteside contract. Look at the Duncan Robinson contract or the Dion Waiters contract. Like, they've given out tons of bad contracts, and I don't think like Tyler Hero was an overpay, and then Jordan Poole was even more of an overpay. They should be making $25 a year. Okay, they're just slightly better versions of Jordan Clarkson, and Jordan Clarkson makes like $14 million. Okay. And I know that's kind of disrespectful, but slightly better. They're still better than him. They're better, but they are not that much better, and they're not worth $30+ million a year. I always felt the same way about CJ on the Blazers. That's what hampered us all those years because we gave CJ too big of a contract, and he's not that level of player. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Jordan Poole contract overpay. Still love him as a player, just overpay, and it might. And Draymond's more important to their success, so he might be the one that's traded. The more I think about it, or Clay, but I don't think they'd do that to Clay. Luka's career has been mirroring LeBron's. That's kind of a big take. Warriors defense has looked horrible. It's looked like the Blazers defense the past few years, and yeah, those are my main thoughts. Those are my main thoughts. All right, thank you for watching. Double Rim out. It's another long one, but I like to talk and tangent. So, anyways, peace out.